What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo, and today we're going to talk about SS Hwoarang, who is a really good character, but I think a character that most people are just going to use as a support, especially for your Tekken team. So let's dive into it, guys. Let's take a look at his kit and explain why these things are what they are. So I do have a very good build on this guy. I pretty much almost got him maxed out, except for his cores, as we'll get into here in a little bit. But when it comes to his core effects, he's got some good core effects, guys. 30% PG rate, the extra HP increase, chill attack increase, and shock is really, really good, especially for a character that has both these dots. And then the immunities is really nice for PvP and can even be useful in PvE, right? The increased active skill damage to shock enemies by 60%. There's a lot of similarities between this character and SS Alyssa in all reality. It's just one has dots for Omega Rugal, and this one here has dots for Nightmare Geese, right? But he does have the CDR core with the 0.1 second upon landing his skill on shield target to decrease the skill cooldown, which is good for him, but it's not a lot, but it is something. And then he has the PvP exclusive reflects 20% of damage received for 5 seconds when attacked on a 13-second cooldown. So, characters will be taking damage in PvP no matter what they do, which is really good for you if you're playing with Hwoarang. And then he has a decreased damage received by 80% for 5 seconds when attacked at 80% HP or lower, which is really great for survivability. And then he also has a really nice heal that's similar to Cronin's, where he gets a 15% recovery whenever someone does an ultimate move to him. This is really, really nice, especially for survivability. And this is something that can come in very, very handy in certain game modes in the game. Like the new tower that we have to fight, the Tekken tower. This is really great because those characters do ultimates in that game mode, and that game mode is not easy. I'll probably talk about that in another video, but it's not easy. So having something like this is actually very beneficial, as this is the only character that you can use in that, right? And then, of course, the Faded Retribution passive. And then, of course, he has the decreased damage received by 70% for 4 seconds on the first skill, the increased damage for all enemies by 13% for 4 seconds. It's a shame this isn't higher. Like, it's a shame that this doesn't last for a longer period of time, like about 8 seconds or something like that, 7 seconds. I mean, that little bit would have made a difference, especially when you're using him as a support. And then the second skill, he does have hyper armor, which is nice. He applies chill for 10 seconds. He does have dot explosion, but it's only on his default. And then his third skill is the motion switch skill, where you can switch up your stance and start doing different skills. So when you hit this thing the first time, it gives you an increased attack by 12% for 5 seconds and increases strike skill damage of all allies, self by 30% for 15 seconds. This is a godly support. This is a big reason why people are going to use him as a support, because this will work on any character that has strike skills. It's not only work on the Tekken characters, it works on any character, which is nice. 30% increase of strike skill damage is really, really good. And then when you switch it up, then he gives an increase of critical damage, increase attack by 12% again, increase critical damage of all allies and self by 20%. And again, this works on any character. And then the first skill drops the lightning for 10 seconds, I believe, right? And then the second skill, and by the way, the PvP exclusive removes target shield or immunity upon landing a hit, which is really good for, him to be able to do damage to them. And then the second skill deals additional damage to 30% of attack to all enemies upon successful attack, guard included, and disables all enemies' active skills for 3 seconds. Again, this is nice. All enemies, guys, anybody on the screen, when you hit this skill, it disables their active skills for 3 seconds. There's really nothing they can do unless they can somehow do their basic attack against you and try to, do some damage to you. Although most players are just going to rely on their active skills to be able to do that. So, I mean, the thing about Hwoarang, especially when you're playing with this character, is that he only has hyper armor in his original stance, right? Only when he has Phalanx EX, right? So whenever you switch your stance, you don't have hyper armor. So just like Alyssa, whenever you're playing with him, you always need to have in the back of your mind whether or not your hyper armor is up, especially when you're switching him in. Because if you switch him in and you have these available instead of the other one, then he's not going to have the hyper armor, and he's going to take a lot of damage very, very quickly, even with the decreased damage received. So you always have to keep that in mind. And whenever you're playing with him, you really want to get this increase of strike skill damage, and you really want to get this increase to critical damage when you're playing with him. I mean, these last for 15 seconds. That is a lot. It's huge busts. And you guys are going to see in the gameplay that I'm going to show you, I do that, right? I will use both of these busts, and on top of that, in this guy's core, right, when you lock his EX core board, you got to get him at A5 in order to do this. He has what's called Shred. And in Shred, he increases physical damage received for all enemies by 30% for 15 seconds upon use. This is great for the Tekken characters. However, I'm going to show you guys a run with him and Jin, right, on a team, right, where Jin's the main damage dealer. Hwoarang is not really going to be soloing anything, guys. His damage really isn't that good. But as far as being a support, he's a good support. But the thing is, I don't think he's the easiest support to play with, and I don't think he's the best necessarily. I do think there are other characters that some players may already have, or characters that are going to come back in the future that we already have currently right now that would be just as good, if not better, right? As I'll explain later on. Now, I haven't leveled up any of his cores, but what I'm going to do personally for me is I'm just going to level up all of these. I'm going to level up his attack, I'm going to level up his HP, and defenses probably, so that way I can increase his CP, because I'm mainly going to be using this character for Chapter of Fight, so I can get all those CP requirements. That's why I went for 3 different Tekken sets in this collaboration, so that way I can increase the CP of all of these characters. That is what was important for me and for this account. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But obviously if you guys are trying to increase his damage, you want to level up the skill 1, the skill 2, and this skill here is his dot explosion. And whenever you're playing with him, if you're using him in Guild Raid, when you break the meter and the meter's broken, and and Nightmare Geese is stunned, then you could go ahead and do your dot explosion, because he does have 6 times explosion, and he's going to do a lot of damage on that skill. But whenever you're using him as a support, and you're always trying to keep those dots applied, so that way you can break the meter a whole lot faster. He also has what's called Concentrate here. I don't think this is really the best for this character, because he just isn't that strong, guys. Like, he just isn't. I mean, it'll be all right for him. But the bad thing about this is, you gotta have a character at A5 in order to do this. Now, the good thing is he's an SS character. We can farm for SS memories in Demo Space. You can maybe get lucky enough to get SS memories from the Guild Raid, which is actually really nice if you're lucky. And that was really how I was able to level him up and get him to where he is. I mean, he's got 183,000 CP on him right now. And I am using the Tekken set. I'm actually using this card here because it does give him super armor when he gets tagged in. This helps out tremendously whenever you're going to do what I'm going to do, because sometimes Geese will do an attack and, like a Repukin or something, and when you're dropping in, and if he's doing that attack, he will knock you out of your skills, he will knock you down, he will do damage to you. But if you got super armor up available when you drop in, you can still take damage, but you're not going to get interrupted. You can go straight into your hyper armor skill, start protecting yourself, applying the dots, and applying those supports. Now, I only use 1-3PG because, again, I'm just using him as a support character, guys. He's not going to be a main damage dealer. When it comes to his imprint stones, I was able to get this last stone. I mean, this is a free-to-play account, guys. This is free to play. And, of course, I used the first three Tekken stones and the last stone. And when you do take this character to A5, you will get 120 shards to be able to get this stone. That's something that's actually really nice that they did in this collaboration, is the fact that when you get this guy to A5, you can get a stone because you need 120 shards for them. That's actually really, really nice that they did that. I mean, when you go into the event codex, right, you go to Hwoarang, there it is, 120 shards, right? But you got to have him at A5 in order to get that thing. And if you don't have these stones, and then obviously you just want to give him shock and chill, either 2 chill, 2 shock, 1 shock, 1 chill, that would be just fine for this character. And again, guys, we're on the Tekken set. This doesn't really matter. The only real reason I have the Tekken set is so I can just do my 3PG super, super fast. That's the only reason I really have the Tekken set on him. I forget which card it is that applies that. No. Here it is. This is the only reason I have it equipped on him, right? But easily I could put a Serena set on him, and that would do just fine. And for those of you that don't know, the Serena set, well, I thought I had one equipped in here, but the Serena set is this set right here. These babies. These are always available in the game, and these build up your PG very, very fast when you're tagging in. You gain 10% power when you're tagging in. It's a really wonderful set for building a PG super fast so you can go into your 3 PGs, and that's what I have equipped to Chun-Li. And the bad thing about Hwoarang is that he doesn't do a lot of hits, guys. He doesn't break the meters very, very fast, even when you apply both dots. So whenever you're playing with this character, you really need another character, at least so far from the testing that I've done, that can break the meter very, very fast. So in my situation, I'm actually going to be using Chun-Li to break the meter. By the way, guys, his affinity is at level 10, right? But the CP is really the reason I have him leveled up. And when you jump into Guild Raid, okay, and guys, I practiced this for a couple hours this morning trying to do a run for you all to try to get the best I could out of him. You can see the score that I got. This is a very good score. It really is. This is a solid score. 27,000 or 27 billion is a good score. It is. It's right. You only need 1.25 billion. But there are other characters that I could replace with Hwoarang that don't need to be A5, that I could get an even better score with. So with a character like, say, Leona, right? like BS Leona, right? With a character like BS Leona, if I can find her here, this is a level 20 character, right? Now, I used her on the stream last night, and because Leona has the increased target damage received, right? She has this 35% increase when you do your first skill, and then she has on the second skill, she has the increased target damage received on her second skill for 8 seconds. And when you combine that, that is a lot of extra increased target damage received. That is without her being at A5 and having the weaken that increases target damage received by 30 more percent. Right? I don't even like she's only at A2, so I don't have near the investment in this character as I do SS Hwoarang. Again, for me, building up SS Hwoarang was well worth it because I'm going to be using them in Chapter of Fight for those CPU requirements. Leona obviously can't do that because she's A2, but this is a prime example of you don't really need to put a lot into a character in order to get a better score. I can use Leona, guys, with no card set, nothing on her, just a super armor card similar to what I have on Hwoarang. Never even use her 3PG, and I can score 32 billion against Nightmare Geese. 32 billion. So I can use an A2 character with no car sets, nothing on them, very little investment in place of Hwoarang here, and do even more damage. Now, to be fair, I'm very familiar with playing with Leona. I've played with her for a long time, using these team compositions with Chun-Li and her, so that could be a big part of it. But I played this for, like I said, a couple hours, trying to get all the attack buffs I could from Hwoarang, get the increased physical damage received from his core, get the strike skill increase, get the critical damage increase from his third skill. I tried using all of that, as you guys will see right now. So I want you to watch how I do this. Now, this might not be the most optimal. Maybe I could have done it better than what I did do it here, okay? But I'm just going to do Jin's 3PG immediately. That way we can have his concentrate ready whenever we switch him in the next time after we use Hwoarang's, increased physical damage received, right? And the increased physical damage received, as far as I know, is only going to work on the Tekken characters, right? It's only going to work on those characters. But the buffs on his third skill will work on any characters in the game. They don't have to be Tekken characters at all. So we're doing his 3PG, so that way we can have his, core skill ready to go. Okay? And what I'm doing now is I went ahead and brought in Mary. Mary applies shock. We applied chill from Chun-Li's first skill. And Chun-Li is so really good because she just breaks the meter very fast, right? And now I'm going to bring in Hwoarang, right? And do a couple skills. I'm going to hit that increased physical damage received, and then I'm going to break out Jin, start applying a bunch of damage. And you guys can see, like, the damage is nutty, right? I mean, obviously, it's Jin. He's getting all these buffs from Hwoarang, right? He's getting that strike skill increase, which is very beneficial for a character like Jin. He's getting the extra critical damage, right? Especially with Jin, having the Tekken set. More critical damage means he's going to hit harder more often, which is really good. But again, guys, like I said earlier, I can use Leona in here, not have those buffs, just get the increased target damage received from her passive and her second skill, and I can do even better. And Leona actually breaks meters very fast, right? I mean, but it's still good. So I think for like new players, Hwoarang's going to be very good because you can use him as a support for these Tekken characters. If you came to this game for Tekken, if you are just starting for Tekken and you have Hwoarang, he's going to be a very useful character for you because you're not going to have Leona. You're not going to have characters like Baiken who can also offer the increased target damage received, or a character like Cronin who can also offer the increased target damage received. You're not going to have those characters. So he's going to be very beneficial for those players out there. But for a player like myself, or a veteran, for someone that's been playing for a while, this free-to-play account's a little over a year old. I really don't need them for guild raid at all. And then obviously the score requirements for guild raid just aren't that high, right? It's just 1.25 billion, right? And I know some players do have some difficulty hitting that 1.25 billion, but if you've been playing this game, guys, for a good 3 months or so, picked up a couple decent SS characters, it's not really going to be that difficult for you to get that score for the most part. It just won't. The hardest thing about it is just breaking the meter. So once you have characters that can actually break the meter, that apply the right dots, they're going to do really well. And that's really my complaint with Hwoarang, is that he just doesn't do enough hits, right? He applies the right dots, but he doesn't do enough hits. When he does his 3PG, he does some kicks and everything, and it's great. It looks cool. But I wish he would have been more like Chun-Li, where he would have done a few more hits. I know that they're, copying what they did in Tekken, and they absolutely should, but they should have incorporated some effects where he actually lands more hits or something like that. That would have been way better for the character, right? It doesn't mean that you can't use him. It doesn't mean that he isn't a good character. I think he's really more for PvP, in all honesty, than he is anything, and just really applying these buffs right here, right? But I mean, right now, guys, we're at 16 billion, right? Which is a good score. And I don't want to mislead anybody and say that this is the best, right? It's not, right? Again, I can do better with Leona. I hit 32 billion, one run, one try last night on my live stream when I was playing the game. So, I mean, just knowing that, I mean, so some players, they might, hear that and they think, you know what? I'm just going to wait for Leona to come back because she will come back. We don't know when. And we'll just use her. Or maybe Cronin. Cronin's another character that can do it, right? It's just, offering that increased target and receive. So because we have all these other characters that offer that increased target and receive, it makes Hwoarang a little bit less relevant, right? He's not as useful for as many players as really he could be, right? I mean, it's still good. Like, he's still good, but I think he could have been a little bit better. I mean, it's really crazy, and maybe I need to work on my rotations. But if you guys are watching this, right, you're seeing what I'm doing with Hwoarang, right? I bring him in, and I go through the first skill, and then I hit, I go through my skills, I apply chill, and then I hit the third skill, get the buffs from it to increase strike skill damage, and then I do the apply lightning afterwards, or apply shock, and then I hit the motion switch skill again. So I'm applying both buffs as I'm playing with the character. You notice I'll switch my stance right before, I switch to Jhin, right? I switch my stance twice before I switch to Jhin. So we're getting all these critical damage buffs. We're getting the increase to strike skill. We're getting the increase to physical damage by 30%. We're getting all of that. And yet still I could do better with someone like Leona at A2. But guys, like this guy though, he's going to be really good for something like like the new towers. I mean, I think he's going to be better suited for that because he does get a heal whenever he's attacked with someone that is doing their ultimate move. That is a very, very handy little thing. He does also have a lot of the decreased damage received. But as you guys can see, we hit 27 billion. This is a great score. And if I wasn't using SS Hwoarang, I would have never gotten this kind of score. I would have never done this well, right? If I was using a different character, say I was just using Chun-Li just to break the meter, right? Just to break the meter, and I wasn't applying any increased target damage received. Well, then we wouldn't have done near as well, right? We'd have been under 20 billion. But because I'm using Hwoarang, we're getting all these buffs, we can do much better. But just like I said a second ago, I can use other characters that actually can do better for me. Again, guys, Leona does better. But, I mean, when you come into a game mode like the tower here, I mean, if you don't have Jhin, then Hwoarang's going to be really good. The thing about this is that sucks is Nina's a free character. Nina's a character that a lot of people are going to be able to get to. A3, right? And she might not have the CP requirements to finish this thing, but she is a godly character, as we'll talk about in the future. She just has insane survivability. So most players are probably going to use her instead of him. But the advantage to him is, especially if you're a veteran, is that you were able to level him up and you were able to get enough CP in order to finish this thing out. Whereas with Nina, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure at A3 if she could finish this out or not. That's something I'm going to have to talk about in the future. But I mean, he's a good character, guys, but he's going to be, a niche character for a lot of players out there. For a player like me, I really am just going to be using him, again, for Chapter of Fight. I mean, this is why I leveled the character up. This is why I leveled them up, because you have CP requirements in this game mode. If you don't meet the required CP, you will not do damage. So you have to have the CP requirement. And in this game mode, you get rubies. You can get an extra 100 rubies every single day while this is going on, right? And so that is a big thing, especially for a free-to-play account, is trying to get more rubies to acquire in between all these collaborations, at least the way that I play it. But maybe I need to play them a little bit further. Maybe I need to do a little bit more testing. Maybe I need to work out a better rotation. And I think, this also would depend, guys, on the teams that you're using and the characters that you're using, like especially like in Guild Raid. Maybe like if I had someone else other than Chun-Li, this would be a different ball game. Maybe like you just don't know. Maybe if it was a complete Tekken team, it would be a different ball game as well, because if you had a complete Tekken team, then you would get an extra attack bonus for having a complete Tekken team. There are lots of variables when you're looking at these runs. I do think he's a good character. His damage is subpar. It's really not the greatest, guys. It's okay whenever he does his default. He definitely does a good amount of damage. Like if you're in PvP, you're going to be smashing opponents with that default. But like in the PvE game modes in the game, he doesn't really have the greatest damage, so he's really just going to be more of a support or doing like what I'm doing, trying to get the CPU requirements in order to do something like Chapter of Fight. But I stand on what I said before about Alyssa and EX Hwoarang, is that, they're very unique and they're just different characters to play. And that really does make them interesting and fun, but it definitely, requires a lot of practice in order to get them down. Switching your stances over and always remembering when to have your hyper armor and hyper armor, always trying to remember when your hyper armor is up or not up. It can be a little, frustrating sometimes because a lot of players, whenever they play these game modes, they pretty much just want to come in there and just spam their skills. And with a character like Hwoarang, you just can't do that. You just can't come in there and spam. You have to be careful about how you play the character. Some players are going to like that. Some players aren't going to like that. It really is going to depend on your perception on what you actually think of this character. But for my account, he's going to be a godsend, guys. He's going to help me get a lot more rubies because he is an SS character. I was able to level him up to A5. But as far as, using him in guild raid, I'm probably just going to just go ahead and go back to Leona because in truth, it's actually a lot easier for me to get scores using Leona instead of him. But maybe again, or maybe I just need to practice a little bit more with this character. So guys, let me know what you think about SS Hwoarang. And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT+7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See you, everybody.